Hello and welcome to this Canadian Whiskey Taste Challenge. I have two Canadian whiskeys, 40% alcohol. This is Potter's Crown Canadian Whiskey, introduced in 1983 by the same owner they have today, Frank-Lin Distillers. So it's had the same ownership throughout its 41-year history, which is not too normal for whiskey or beer. They tend to change hands like most consumer products. Potter's Crown Canadian Whiskey, a rare blend of Canadian whiskey. Well, it's rare because they don't even sell it in my town, but I did buy this in Metairie, Louisiana, which is it's not even common there. But I bought it at International Market, $14.99. Imported and bottled by Potter's Brands, Fairfield, California, but it's really Frank-Lin Distilling. Aged 3 years. All they had was the plastic, so no glass, sorry. Herbie in India says, hello, sir. Hello to you. Now, the competitor is Canadian Hunter. I finished with my regular bottle, but my friend David gave me these little bottles that he bought at Savannah Discount for, I think, like very cheap. Let's see. I'll tell you how much it was. I got to figure it out, though. Let's see. $0.42 each. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. And this doesn't, like most Canadian whiskeys, most Canadian whiskeys have like a crown and a shield on it, kind of reflecting their type of government. But this has a hunter with huskies out in the mountains, and that's always been the same label. Well, modified, but same label. And then it's got a bullet, bottom of a bullet down there. Bourbons are way below Scotch. And what opinion are you talking about? Hello, Jay, says the D-Man. Hello to you, the D-Man. All right. Well, these are neither bourbon nor Scotch. This is Canadian blended whiskey. Bottled by Sazerac Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. Canadian Hunter. I'm trying to look for an age statement. So 42 cents for 100 milliliters. It would be $3.15 for a full size bottle. That's the cheapest liquor deal in the world, pretty much. He bought one of the 12 packs. It was $5, so he gave me about 4 of them. I don't know what he did with the rest. He doesn't really like plastic bottles, and he doesn't really like Canadian whiskey. I don't understand why he bought it. Anyway, if I'd have known this was going to happen, I'd have kept my glass bottle and poured them all in there, but that didn't happen because I didn't know it was going to happen. All right. Introduced in 1984 as Seagram's Canadian Hunter. But in 1989, Seagram sold it to the Sazerac Company, so now it's just Canadian Hunter. No Seagrams on it. Although they did keep that name on some of the other products they bought. Actually, the Commonwealth countries, right, have the crowns, says the D-Man. Yes, typically. So this was introduced in 1983, so they're close, 83, 84. Age 3 years, no age statement on the other one. The other one says Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Although Canadian whiskey is allowed to have natural flavoring added, so that's not really a remarkable statement that they made. Let's look at the appearance. They're about the same, right? We'll call that amber gold. Yeah, so I won't have to worry about the color throwing me off because they're the same. Sometimes I got to close my eyes so I don't look down and see the darker shade. Do a screen share. Frank-Lin Distillers Products Limited. There's Frank and Lynn, no longer with us on this in this world of the living. Their children run the company now, but they bought the company in 1966 and renamed it Frank-Lin. It was a company that had already been bottling liquor since 1933, but they have it now. The Maestri family, Frank-Lin Maestri, and their son Vince Maestri. All right, there's their value brands, and it's listed there: Canadian whiskey, Potter's Crown, Canadian Hunter. There's Total Wine and More's website. They give you a close-up of it. Label I was telling you about. Not available today. Sold $18.49 for a handle. So $3.50 more. Golden amber in color. Well, I just said golden amber. I didn't cheat either. I didn't go read that ahead of time. Golden amber in color. Aromas of saltwater taffy and toasted nuts. So I get the nuts. Follow through on thin, watery entry to a dry, light body with a wisp of honeyed wheat cracker and a brisk pepper and dusty mint. Oh, that much seems kind of hard to believe. Gets a 92 out of, wow, 92 out of 100, 9.2 out of 10, A minus. Recent review from 6 days. Caramel notes that mix perfect with Coke. Caramel notes that mix perfectly with Coke. Former bartender here. I legit have never been this satisfied with Hunter every time I have used it. Anytime I go to a bar and they pull this out of their well, I know I'm going to enjoy my drink. For a cheap whiskey, possibly the best. And I would put it above others' favorites like Jack or Jim. I think we know who he's talking about there. Whiskey around. This precious elixir got me through college. Nowadays, I might drink top shelf, but I purchased this because it tastes as good as expensive drinks. It's smooth. It is smooth with caramel notes. Can't go wrong with this purchase. So people that buy it at this store like it, giving it a 9.2 out of 10. I actually have it cheaper than I paid. There's what the bottle looks like, better view of it. A smooth blend of specially selected whiskeys, each chosen to combine for a defined yet soft flavor and dominated by sweet oak, fruit, honey, and spices. A great value. Obviously, that came from the company. This one's only got 84. So a lot lower, 8-point difference there. 8.4 out of 10. But then so a year ago, not anywhere near as bad as the haters say. Not bad in a highball. It's better than most cheap whiskeys we'll buy again. Wouldn't compare it to Crown. It's a solid choice. Okay, that's fair enough. All right. Good evening, Ron. I hope you're doing well, says Mr. Amazing. I am doing well. And I'm going to turn this lamp. In about an hour and a half, we're going to do hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, hour and a half. We're going to do a special video group examination called Elysian Night. We're going to do any Elysian beers. Evening, have you ever had Black Velvet? Yes. My bottle's gone. My first bottle's gone, and I did the Black Velvet Reserve, the 8-year age. That bottle's gone too. But I have a third bottle, and it's mostly full. So I'm going to be bringing that into the taste challenges. Yes, Black Velvet is on the way. I didn't like it at first, but I'm starting to like it. I had a lot of that stuff in college. It was very inexpensive. Yeah, it's cheap, says Joe Hill. Good mix of stuff. I personally like Canadian whiskey. Oh, okay. I like it too. All right, here we go. Uh, hmm, corn and oak. Sweet corn and oak. What about rye? Well, maybe some rye spice. I'm not sure about that. Let's go over here. Less corn, less oak, less fruity flavor, less, I'm talking about flavor, aroma. And I'm getting that less, that I'm thinking that's Potter's Crown. Mm. Bourbon is an attempt to compete with Scotch, says Herbie. I don't think they're trying to compete with Scotch. It's just an American whiskey. Good evening from England, says Blind Man B. Good evening to you. All right, taste time. Thanks for watching. That's the Canadian Hunter. I'll tell you why. It says Canadian whiskey with natural flavor added. I'm tasting the flavoring. What is it? Well, it's kind of like the way they described it. Nutty, like nuts, cashews, almonds, something. A little spiciness, probably from rye. Tastes good. Herbie says Scotch and Irish whiskey is real whiskey. Yes, that's true. And so is Canadian whiskey. It's real. All right, what's your favorite lager? Mine's Budweiser, but going to try Corona Extra, says Blind Man B. Favorite lager? Well, I don't really have a favorite, but I like Budweiser and I like Corona Extra and I like about a few hundred others. Okay, bye. Now, this one does not taste like it has flavoring, but it could, but it doesn't taste like it. It just tastes like corn and oak, a little pepper, probably from rye. And it's a little sharp and bitey. There's a little bite to it, which some people would like, others would not like. The finish is pretty sharp and short. Kind of reminds me of Gibson's Finest Rare, which in Louisiana is rare. I can't really get it. I've seen it at a couple of places, but not anymore. And that's coming in to the contest soon enough. That's coming into the contest soon enough. And I got an even greater deal on that, an amazing deal, a deal that's beyond belief, but it's the truth, and I'm not lying when I tell you about it. All right, back to this. Blind Man B says, have you ever tried Newcastle Brown Ale? That was brewed in my local town, but moved the brewery because of the demon Heineken. Yep, I know about that. I have tried Newcastle. We used to get it imported from England. We used to get Newcastle Brown Ale in the bottles. We used to get it in the cans, those brown cans. But it's been replaced by an American brewed version called Lagunitas Newcastle Brown Ale, or Newcastle Brown Ale brewed by Lagunitas Brewing in San Diego, California. Petaluma, California, sorry. Well, it makes sense because Heineken bought Lagunitas years ago. So Heineken owns Newcastle and they own Lagunitas. So the American brewed version is different. I can't say it's not as good because it's very good in its own way, but it tastes nothing like the English version. So I think people from England would be terribly offended by it. I think most Americans don't even bother to check the label and realize it's not even from England anymore. And they seem to like it because it seems to stay in stock. It doesn't go out of date. So it has its followers. Maybe we'll do a Newcastle Brown Ale night one night. I got to check my records, see if we ever talked about that later. I will be having a high life to go with the sirloin from the cast iron, says Joe Hill. Oh, you like that, huh? That came out great, and I ate one of the steaks today. It was dynamite. I barbecued these on hickory smoke, hickory charcoal. I don't know if it makes a difference. They had hickory and they had mesquite, and then the basic, I guess, basic oak, whatever it was. But I don't know. I might try them all and see if it makes a difference. So far, I'm not noticing really any difference, but I don't have a trained palate when it comes to steak. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Um, it was brewed in Newcastle. Now it's brewed on Yorkshire, which tweaked the taste, but still nice. I wish they would bring the import back. But like I said, the one from California is not bad, and actually it's excellent, most excellent. It's just different. Doesn't taste like Newcastle, but yeah, I'm gonna research that and see what we've covered. We may bring that in one night. I don't know. I lose track. That's why I keep records. But man, 15 years ago, you get it in the regular bottles. They had the big bottle. They had Newcastle in the big bottles, the tall cans. Man, 12 packs of cans, regular cans. Um, I like the flavor of this. These Sazerac Canada, because they have a distillery up there in Montreal called Sazerac Canada. They kind of like taste the same one to another. They honestly don't really taste that different. They're a little different, but not different enough that I would ever pay a penny more for any of them. So you get Canadian Limited, Rich and Rare, Canadian Hunter, James Fox, the Northern Lights. All from Sazerac. They may not be exactly the same product, but they may as well. They just as soon as be the same. You know what I mean? They may as well be the same product, because I'm sure the differences are minute. Like they told me on the telephone, Buffalo Trace, owned by Sazerac, on the telephone. Every one of our bourbons is a separate recipe. The lady got kind of angry when I asked her. I said, okay. But now it might be a separate recipe, but it could be so close that it's in a practical sense the same. But you know what I mean? It might be like this one uses 15% rye and the other one uses 16%, you know. And this one uses a number one char, the other one uses a number two char. So it gets very narrow, because if you get a bunch of Buffalo Trace bourbons, Sazerac bourbons, and line them up and start tasting them, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice that you're thinking you're tasting the same product repeatedly. You know what I mean? It's like, well, this is the same as the one before, and the same as the one before, and the same one. You say, well, that's just like any of these liquor companies. Go get the Jim Beam, start lining them up and tasting them. I know. The best lager you tried when in America was my trip to New York. I tried Samuel Adams, also like the Sierra Nevada IPA. I'm glad you went to New York. I went to England last year. I went to London on the way to Spain and Spanish Africa, and I went to London on the way back from Spain and Gibraltar in Spanish Africa. And I did try a beer, but it was made in Poland. It wasn't an English beer. It was a Polish beer. I bought it in an English store called Asiatic Superstore, and it was called Karpaki, and it was 9% lager, 9% alcohol. At first, I hated it, and then I started to like it. And then the can was gone, and then I had to walk to the train station. I said, "Whoa, I'm gonna have to be careful walking now." But I did eat that tuna sandwich on red cheese. They called it red cheese, so that helped me out. Joe Hill says, maybe it's just me, but are you noticing more and more craft beer companies producing light lagers? I've seen a lot in the craft American light lagers popping up. I haven't seen light lagers so much, but I've seen a lot of regular American lagers, and I don't understand that whole point. It's like, come support our craft beer company where we make lagers that taste like Miller High Life and Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's like, well, what's the point of this? You know? Blind Man B says, you Yanks have it lucky. Don't call me a Yankee. I'm from Louisiana. You must be talking about those people from New York and Connecticut. Have it lucky, though. Your cans are huge. That's true. They are big. 750 milliliter cans or bigger. The 750s are kind of small. We get some that are, yeah, bigger than that. And you also have 5% Budweiser. Ours is 4.5. I know. But listen here now. Listen here. When I was in England, November, what was it, 29th? I can look it up. But when I was in England that morning in London at Asiatic Superstore, they had 6 packs of tall cans of Budweiser. It looked like 16 ounce to me, not 16.9 ounce, like in England, 500 milliliters. To me, it looked like 16, but I didn't examine it. But what I did examine is that the can said 5% alcohol. It said Budweiser, 5%. And I looked at that like 3 times and I was like, woof, I almost bought it. But then I said, what am I going to do with all this? I have to go to the airplane, to the airport and get on the plane. But I was saying, I thought England only got the lower ABV Budweiser. And then somebody later told me on the video, oh, well, you see, that was probably an imported Budweiser. Imported, not England produced. I was like confused, I said imported. So that was an amazing thing to see down in that cooler, and I said, what am I looking at? Do they have Asian beer in Louisiana? Says the D man. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Some, not a whole lot, but we do have some. I'm sorry about the Yank comment. I thought that was a slang for anyone from the United States. Well, in the southern states, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee. When we say in Yankees, we mean people from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Connecticut, especially from like Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine. And people will say Yankees, those Yankees. I remember I have a friend now. He called me yesterday. He had a girlfriend once 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And my grandmother said, oh, he's got a new girlfriend. I said, yeah. I said, she's from Ohio. And my grandmother made a bad face and she said, a Yankee. That's not good. That's what she said. A Yankee. That's not good. That was funny. Joe Hill says, I'm a Yankee. I'm from Michigan. I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, people are touchy about stuff. I'm not touchy about things. Some people are really, really weird, I should have knew. I should have knew. Oh, you should have known. I see what you're trying to say. I should have known that my uncle is from Kansas, and that's the best trip I ever had over there. Oh, Kansas in the Midwest, the middle part of the United States, the Midwest. Dorothy lived in the midst of the great Kansas prairie. Y'all know what book that's from? That's the first sentence of the whole novel from 1900. Dorothy lived in the midst of the great Kansas prairie. The D-man says from the north. British ruled India, not Asia. Says Herbie. Right, India. The Empire of India. The Empire of India had emperors. Well, an empress, right? Victoria, Edward, Emperor George, the second Emperor Edward, and the second Emperor George. And then they had George VI, the King of India, from 1947 to 1950 when India became a republic with its own president. Yes, I know a little bit about history, but they ruled other parts of Asia, Hong Kong, Malaya, Singapore, Burma, Kuwait, Some parts, like quasi ruled Oman, Muscat and Oman, the United Arab Emirates, back then called the Trucial States, Qatar, Aden was a crown colony, it definitely ruled Aden. The Federation of South Arabia, British controlled. Jordan, a League of Nations mandate, formerly Ottoman territory. Palestine, formerly Ottoman territory. So yeah, they had a lot of Asian interests, we could say. As have a funny accent in Newcastle, we sound a bit Jamaican, but we're also descendants from the Vikings in northeastern England. Oh yeah, the Dane Law, the Dane Law. You're from the Dane Law. Britain invaded India. No, they didn't invade India. That's not correct. Okay, but anyway, but that might be what people say, but they're not correct. My wife only likes the one beer, and it's Foster's. We laugh at her for that. Well, if she likes it, we get a different Foster's in the United States, Blind Man B. We get 5% Foster's, 5% brewed in Texas under license from Carlton United Breweries. And we get a Foster's Premium Ale, 5.5%. Drink too many of those, you'll know it. You'll know it. Foster's. So we get the premium ale, the green label, and we get the blue label, the lager. Now, Herbie, you said the British took all of your wealth in India. Okay, well, India must have not been too angry about it because they stayed a member of the Commonwealth, which they're still a member today of the Commonwealth of Nations, right? And as a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, they are required to recognize King Charles as the head of the Commonwealth. He's not the King of India, but he's the head of the Commonwealth of which India is a part. You see, that's the way they constructed that. Not the King of India, but the King of the Commonwealth of which India is a part. So I don't run India, I don't run England, but I know what I'm talking about. Okay, she is for one of those big cans from a 7-Eleven in Brooklyn, and she was so shocked it was like a fire extinguisher. Oh yeah, They call them oil cans because they're big, like the old oil cans that people would use to put oil in their automobile. Blind Man B says King Charles is no fool, but you said he's no food, but I think you meant he's no fool. But to be fair, he's dying of cancer, and our prime minister has England in a real bad shape. Well, he's in Australia on a tour. He must not be too sick. Oh, y'all get some bad prime ministers over there. We get some bad presidents. Y'all get some bad prime ministers, man. Ooh, they must, I don't know how those guys get a job. They don't keep it for too long, usually. Triple X Molson. Yep, that's a good one, the D-Man. We don't get that in Louisiana. We started boycotting British goods, says Herbie. Oh, really? Y'all are activists, huh? Activists. That stuff's strong, says the D-Man. The D-Man, Molson, Triple X, are you also Canadian? Yes, Sean LeBroy. Hey, Sean. The Molson Triple X is 7.3, right? 7.3. Enjoying the PBR, Jay, says Sean. Oh, good. You get the Canadian one. No, but I live close and I've had it. Okay, you've had it. All right. Well, I'm out of here. Y'all got to go do some things, and then we're going to be getting on to the show. Examine any Elysian beer, Elysian night. Y'all get ready. Bye-bye.